Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American supernatural horror film from 2022, titled They Live in the Gray. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie begins with a woman named Claire Young, attempting to hang herself in her home, but the suicide attempt fails. Claire is a social worker who is deeply traumatized by the tragic death of her young son, Lucas, which also caused the end of her marriage to Peter, a Fresno police officer. Claire has the ability to see and interact with ghosts, with some ghosts physically harming her, while others just stare or yell at her. She is shown to deal with them by using pills and sleeping in the closet for her safety and sanity. After her failed suicide attempt, Claire returns to her job at Child Protection Services. Her boss, Lloyd, assigns her to investigate a suspected child abuse case involving a young girl named Sophie Lang, who has been showing up to school with bruises. When Claire visits Sophie's home, she meets her parents, Audrey, a part-time travel agent, and Giles, a realtor. Sophie has been showing up to school with various injuries which her parent blame on skateboard falls. However, during a private interview with Sophie, Claire learns that the bruises are not caused by skateboarding. Claire then witnesses paranormal activity in the family's home and sees a woman's ghost during one of her trances before snapping back to reality. She concludes that a supernatural entity is responsible for Sophie's injuries but struggles with how to handle the case, knowing that neither Lloyd nor Sophie's school would believe the truth. One day, while Sophie is playing in her room, a ghostly woman appears, slaps Sophie, locks her in the closet, and trashes the room. In a subsequent interview, Sophie tells Claire that her father, Giles, had an affair while Audrey was pregnant with her and the family has never gotten over it. Meanwhile, at CPS department, Lloyd continues pressuring Claire to close the seemingly straightforward case because the case is taking long, which is not supposed to be. During a family dinner, Audrey scolds Sophie for making noise with a spoon, and suddenly, her hand is raised by a supernatural force. The knife on the table begins to move and suddenly, the ghost forces Audrey's hand onto the knife blade. Although Giles insists on taking Audrey to the hospital, she only questions him about his past affair, which made Giles angry. One night, as Claire is coming back from work, she is stopped by a policewoman in the parking lot, who asks for her license and registration. Suddenly, Claire notices blood flowing from the woman's forehead, and the policewoman becomes aware of it too. Panic, she blames Claire for causing it and seems to be under a spell or something before running away. However, the woman turns out to be another ghost, who keeps asking what day is today and is now sitting in the passenger seat next to Claire. Through flashbacks, more is revealed about Claire and Peter. They lost their son, Lucas, in a hit-and-run incident, and his body was later discovered in a field. One night, while trying to sleep, Claire had a dream where she saw Lucas' ghost. He is covered in blood and tells Claire that he sometimes felt very cold and also sad whenever she did, before Claire wakes up from the dream. The next day, while at work, Claire received a call from Peter, who asked if they could go out for dinner. At first, Claire declined because she was busy, but she eventually agreed. During the dinner, there is an uneasy atmosphere between them. Peter said something that upset Claire, causing her to leave the table. Peter became even more annoyed by Claire's silence and told her how he had lashed out at work, even assaulting a man in custody, which resulted in him injuring his hand, before leaving. As the paranormal activity grows more violent, Audrey asks Claire to use her ability to communicate with the ghost to make it leave. Claire visits the Lang family, and during a séance, she has visions of a woman in a nightgown at a spinning wheel, and later kneeling in the bathroom with slit wrists, and finally murdering a man in the house. She also sees flashes of a young dead boy. Still in the trance-like state, the woman in white chokes Claire till she becomes unconscious, and the Langs rush to her aid. Claire is taken to the hospital, and when she regains consciousness, she finds Peter by her side, and learns he has stayed with her for the entire day. Seeing the couple's current situation, Ada, an elderly woman who is revealed to be another ghost, talks to Claire about the importance of not blaming oneself for another person's death and the need to heal broken relationships. That night, Claire leaves her room and has other ghostly encounters in the hospital, including one with a woman grieving for her dead son in the morgue. When she returns to her room, she sees Ada out of bed, marveling at her ability to walk. Claire suggests that Ada has a choice to leave, and Ada agrees before vanishing. After being discharged from the hospital, Claire visits Audrey, who reveals that she has been experiencing fugue states and confirms that Giles cheated on her while she was pregnant with Sophie, returning only because of the pregnancy. Claire shares the full story of her son's death. He was killed in a hit-and-run while walking home from school because she was too high to drive him, and Claire tells Audrey firmly that she is going to lose her daughter. That night, Claire has a vision of the woman in the nightgown, who rushes into her closet and begins to cry. The next day, during a session with Sophie, Audrey confronts Claire about the upcoming CPS hearing to remove Sophie from the home. Claire visits the CPS department and learns from Lloyd that he closed the Lang case while she was in the hospital, resulting in CPS planning to take Sophie away from her parents, and Lloyd fires Claire. Saddened over losing her job, Claire visits her son's ghost in the field where he was found after the hit-and-run and tells him to move on, while she does the same, and they both sing a lullaby before Lucas' ghost vanish. This experience compels Claire to give up her prescription meds, which she blames for causing her to miss a scheduled pickup that forced Lucas to walk home from school when he was killed. She also moves out of the closet and back into her bed. As the final step in dealing with her grief and moving forward, Claire calls Peter, saying she wants to start over, and invites him over, which Peter agrees to renew their relationship. Later, Claire is confronted by the woman in the nightgown, who shows her another vision. The vision clarifies that the woman had killed her husband to avenge their son, whom the husband had strangled, before killing herself. The woman then shows Claire visions of Audrey hitting Sophie, revealing that the ghost had been protecting Sophie by throwing her in the closet, not hurting her. Claire rushed to the Lang family's house, guided by the woman's ghost, and finds Audrey holding Giles at gunpoint while Sophie cowers in fear. As Giles pleads for Audrey to get mental help, Audrey expresses long-held resentment over his affair, blaming it for destroying her life. Audrey admits she abuses Sophie, which infuriates Giles, and she threatens to shoot their daughter to take away what Giles loves most. Claire physically intervenes, inadvertently causing Audrey to shoot Giles instead. Claire and Audrey wrestle over the gun as Audrey fires wildly, and she eventually ends up falling down the stairs. Claire calls 911, and Peter and his police officer partner, Beckett, respond to the call. Claire goes to check on Audrey's body, but it is gone. She holds Sophie's hand and they rush to the front door, only to be stabbed in the back by Audrey. As Audrey prepares to stab Claire again, Sophie hits her mother in the face, but it isn't enough to stop her. Audrey stabs Claire in the leg, but Claire fights back by kicking her face. When Audrey proceeds to attack again, Claire asks the ghost for help, and in response, Audrey's limbs break in different directions, and her neck is finally snapped by an invisible force, which led to her demise. The woman's ghost appears to Claire once more and communicates telepathically to her before disappearing, and Claire drops to the ground due to her injuries. Shortly after, Peter and Beckett arrives at the Lang's house, where Peter finds an unconscious Claire in the kitchen, before calling for help. Cut to the present, with a healing Claire on crutches, she and Peter visit Lucas' grave. In the aftermath, Claire finally tells Peter about her unusual ability and how the trauma it caused led to her pushing him away. The movie concludes with Claire taking up specialized work to help troubled families solve their paranormal problems. Okay guys, that's all the recap about They Live in the Gray from 2022. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.